Oh, good. Well, thank you very much. It's a real honor to be here today, Tara. I appreciate your getting me involved. I have a unique and surprising problem to share with all of you. It's this: I'm not supposed to be here. When I say that, it really counts as two separate problems. First, I'm surprised because I spoke here last year, and when Tara roped me, when I volunteered to speak here last year, she assured me that I'd never have to do it again. No reruns, no redos, no do-overs, but I'm back, and that's a shock to my system and potentially to yours too. But my being here carries a second surprise, one that's far more significant and much more telling. Last year, when I walked up to the podium, I had only been recently diagnosed as a cancer patient. It was just a matter of months that I'd been dealing with a tumor in my pancreas that had spread to my liver. At the time, doctors told me that I had 2 to 4 months to live. But with aggressive treatment, they'd be able to get me out to 11 months. That's not an additional 11 months. That included the 4 months. So a number of you were here when I spoke at last year's relay, so in theory, at the time you were listening to me tell my story, half my expected lifespan was already gone. Well, surprise, I blew right through 11 months. I'm at 17 and a half months now, and I am looking forward to my 2-year anniversary next October. Nobody's more delighted than I am to have proven statistics experts wrong. In fact, it's no exaggeration to say that even my doctors are high-fiving each other at the course of my disease and how well I'm doing. I want to tell you what this has been like, because when I look at my arc here closely, all of you have played a role in it. So pretty much from day one, my tumor was considered inoperable. 17 months ago, they tried to surgically remove it, and they couldn't. After that failure, there was really just one option of therapy that remained, and it was a relatively new treatment. It's a cocktail of 4 anti-cancer drugs that they combined with the idea of trying to not cure me, but reduce the size of the tumor or maybe keep it in check. And that's just what I did. Through most of 2013, I had chemotherapy every other week. That took 54 hours each time I did it. And pancreatic cancer is tricky. It occurs deep inside the body. There's no easy way to follow it. Is it bigger and growing? Is it smaller and responding to treatment? That's one of the reasons it's so deadly. It's almost always discovered late after it's spread, like mine had. So one of the ways that they measure pancreatic cancer disease is to track a chemical marker in the blood. It's not perfect, but what they do is they judge this. If the marker goes up, the disease is probably getting worse. And if the marker goes down, that's a hint that the disease is being managed. Now, virtually all last year, my tumor markers kept going down. Great news. In fact, students taking my courses can verify the fact that I proudly would display PowerPoints in class showing these charts with graphics and plunging lines showing my tumor marker going lower and lower. But it wasn't just blood tests that were making me feel better. It was also the amazing degree of support I was getting from everybody around me. Friends who cooked meals and dropped them off at our house, neighbors who drove me to doctor's appointments when I didn't feel well enough to drive myself, and a special bright spot, very specifically, getting supportive email messages, Instagram messages, tweets, and Facebook posts from current and past Stonehill students. Plus, I had one more great benefactor in my corner, Mama Bear. Now, everybody knows you don't want to wake a sleeping bear. You do not poke sleeping bears. And even more to the point, you do not get in the way of a mama bear protecting her cubs. That's my wife, Cindy, Mama Bear. Cindy discovered that when tumor markers look better and better, certain treatments that previously had been ruled out might be back on the table. One of them is an advanced form of radiation called CyberKnife. Well, at first my hospital said, no. You have metastatic cancer. You're not a candidate for CyberKnife. That's when Mama Bear went to work. I'll spare you the details, but she got in everyone's face and negotiated until the hospital agreed and said, okay, you can have CyberKnife. Then Blue Cross Blue Shield heard about it and said, no, CyberKnife is experimental. You can do it, but we're not going to pay for it. Well, I don't need to tell you that mama bears don't take no for an answer. Bottom line, last summer I underwent experimental CyberKnife treatment. It's high energy radiation specifically aimed right at the tumor in the pancreas, and it caused the mass to shrink even more. So now fast forward several months, and it's Christmas time. Most mama bears are hibernating. Not my mama bear. In fact, she's wide awake in her den with a high-speed internet connection and a search engine. And now she's discovered that when patients are doing as well as I am, well, she raised what to her was the next most obvious question. Why couldn't the doctors operate on my inoperable tumor? Seems logical to me. By this time, of course, no one in Boston's medical community wanted to face off or have anything to do with Mama Bear. Now, for the record, it's not the average husband who can get up here and call his wife Mama Bear. The reason I can get away with this is because when I say Mama Bear, the picture I have in mind is this. Okay, the benign and lovely Mrs. Berenstain Bear. Who could be lovelier? But what the doctors and the Blue Cross Blue Shield people, what they saw was this. A snarling grizzly bear protecting her cubs. So with that picture in mind, as you can imagine, even though the doctors had tried to operate on me before and struck out, earlier this year I underwent complicated all-day-long surgery. This time when I woke up from the operation, Mama Bear was standing beside me in the operating room, in the recovery room, and she leaned down and said two unexpected, surprising things. The first, they were able to complete your operation. They hadn't the first time. And the second, they cut out the entire tumor. Medical tests in the days after my surgery confirmed the cancer had not spread any further. Now, I call this surprising, but there's really a better word to describe my situation, and that's miraculous. It's literally changed my life. When I look back at the last 17 months, I have to acknowledge everything that took part in triggering this miracle. And yes, part of it was Mama Bear. But it also dates back to the first time that Tara approached me to speak at Stonehill Relay. What she said back then was, "We always have cancer survivors speak at the event. Will you join us?" Well, in all honesty, I wanted to be here. But my initial reaction was, hey, wait, I just got sick. I've only been sick for a short time. I thought that being a survivor is like you have to be a couple years out. And her immediate response, no hesitation whatsoever, was this: the moment you are diagnosed with cancer, you are a survivor. As long as you're fighting, you are a survivor. And what Tara explained so well to me that day has stayed with me ever since. Every morning I wake up and get out of bed, and I join hundreds of thousands of other survivors, experienced ones and new ones, who are battling every day. My miracle formally began when I walked around this track at last year's relay. I walked around with other cancer survivors, other caregivers, and we kicked off the relay listening to your applause, seeing the bags with the light sticks, basking in everybody's support, resulted in my feeling like a survivor for the very first time and every day since. Every one of you here now participating in this year's relay are a part of what energizes that spirit. For me and for all cancer survivors. In the same way that my incredibly supportive family helps me, Mama Bear, Cindy, our kids, Julie and Eric are able to join us, and Dan and his fiancee Becca, who can't be here today. All the prayers and support that you and they send my way continue to lift my spirits. It holds me up on days when I'm tired, and it gives me the ability to keep on fighting. I have been blessed with an extended window of time, thanks to you and countless others. The newly approved chemotherapy I had last year, the experimental radiation treatment that I had, the second shot at surgery that I had, all of those things were made possible not just by Mama Bear, but because of years of research and clinical trials, all of which are funded and supported by what you do here. I have no idea how long my new horizon is going to be, but I promise each and every one of you this. You keep walking, you keep speaking up, you keep contributing your time and your effort, and I and every other survivor you know, and countless others who you may never meet, we're going to keep on fighting to stay strong and healthy. You are helping build progress towards a future day with no cancer for yourself and those you love. Thank you very, very much, and thank you for making this a fabulous relay. And now, because I always do everything Tara tells me, I've been asked to invite all the survivors and all the caregivers to join me to do an initial loop around to kick off this relay.